Marcel the Shell with Shoes On is the newest A24 release coming from Dean Fleischer Camp, Nick Paley, and Jenny Slate. So, Marcel the Shell with Shoes On is a film that I've been looking forward to ever since the trailer release. I vaguely remember the short film that came out in 2010 when I was in high school. I don't think I ever actually watched the short film for myself, but I do remember some of my classmates mentioning it in passing. And, obviously after watching the trailer, I finally decided to kind of sit down and watch the short film. And I obviously loved it. I thought it was great, and it got me even more pumped up for the film. So that being said, after finally watching Marcel the Shell with Shoes On, I fell in love with this. I absolutely adored this film. And I understand that this isn't going to be everybody's cup of tea. I could see a lot of people watching this and considering it to be babycore. But I'm sorry. For me personally, this was one of the most adorable and wholesome experiences that I've ever had watching a film. And what's beautiful about this film is that, yeah, obviously there is going to be a huge, child audience for this film, but this is a film that I feel like everybody can enjoy. It's a surprisingly mature film. It's mature emotionally, it's mature thematically, and even comedically when it comes to its humor. There is a nice handful of jokes that are sprinkled out throughout this film that are definitely geared more towards older teenagers and adults. I mean, there's a weed joke in this film that nearly made me fall out of my chair. But overall, yes, this is a film that, a lot of parents are probably going to take their kids to see. But at the same time, it's a lot more than that. I think the reason why it does work on so many levels is because, yes, as I mentioned, this is an extremely adorable and cute film. I mean, the character Marcel the Shell and the dynamic that he has with, his grandmother and the actual human character in this film, it's insanely wholesome, but at the same time, it doesn't feel one-dimensionally adorable. Under all that cuteness, this film really does offer a lot. I mean, the character Marcel, he's incredibly intelligent and clever, to the point where he's just a straight smartass, and there's a few moments in this film where he is a straight savage. It's made for laughs, but at the same time, it's used to develop his character, to express to the audience that, yeah, even though he's absolutely adorable, he's not a baby. And also, I just really loved the themes of this film and the way it was able to express these themes. Sure, it's not the most expansive when it comes to the themes that it chooses, but that's just because overall, it's a simple and linear film. But when it comes to its themes, it really does its best to be compelling. And I just thought it did an excellent job at expressing those themes. One of the central themes in this film has to do with embracing the risk-taking element of life and not allowing anything to hold you back from taking those risks that are worth it. And to me, that's a message that really hits home and I find very important. And there's a scene involving Marcel and his grandmother in the third act that fully hits this theme home. And it was moving. That was one of the scenes that yanked a tear out of my eye. Yes, a tiny shell with shoes was able to make me cry a little bit. Honestly, there's a good 20 to 30 minute portion of this film where I was just watery eyed because it was just every second there was either something that was just so wholesome or something that was genuinely emotional. And I think that when it comes to those aspects, it's incredibly effective. And I also appreciated that this film had the opportunity to take some predictable and cliche routes in its story, but it doesn't. There's some kind of cliche setups, but it avoids really capitalizing on those things. For instance, the grandmother character in this film, the grandmother of Marcel, who by the way is voiced by Isabella Rossellini, who most people know from Blue Velvet. I thought that was really interesting. But in the very beginning of this film, it kind of establishes that she has a certain illness that comes with old age. And, not that that was a bad thing to implement for her character, but I was a little worried that I was going to lean too much into that and make that her entire character. But they don't do that. They make her character, a little bit more complex. They develop her motivations a bit more. And it makes it to where the dynamic between Marcel and his grandmother makes it to where it's just more compelling and multidimensional. And I also like the touch of this film to where they actually make the documentarian character, the actual human character in this film, they actually give him some nuance and they give him some emotional and, thematic depth to him. The voice of Marcel the Shell, by the way, is from Jenny Slate, who I've come to be quite a fan of in the recent years because, I've known her from Parks and Recreation. Recently, I've known her from Everything Everywhere All at Once. But, you know, I also really know her well as the voice of Tammy in Bob's Burgers.
Do you have a limousine?
No, I drive a hatchback.
Gross.
And, you know, just to see her reprise her voice acting role after 11 years since a short film, and to see her do this now in a full-length film, is really impressive. She didn't lose her touch at all, and honestly, she's better than ever as Marcel. Really, the only criticism that I have with this film is not really with its pace, because I have heard some people say that this film, for an hour-and-a-half film, it, you know, could have some tweaks with its pace. But I think this film was actually paced perfectly. My issue comes with where this film decides to end, because when it comes to like the last 5 or 10 minutes of the film, there are many different places where this film could have ended and would have been perfect. And it gets to the point where it does feel like it's dragging a bit. And even though it does end on a frame that I think was effective, there are some frames before it where I feel like, damn, if it would have just ended there, I think it would have just been perfect and a bit more powerful. But obviously, I really love this film. I adore it endlessly. So I'm going to give Marcel the Shell with Shoes On a very strong 8 out of 10. Yeah, this is a film that I'm definitely going to be buying the Blu-ray for. Honestly, I hope that A24 does its own special release for it. Same thing that they did with Lamb. And I'll honestly hope they do the same thing with Everything Everywhere All at Once. Because these are just like such special films that I think deserve, you know, more proper special releases. Before I sign off, just a few announcements. I just released a new Criterion Haul video this month. I already have come out with 2. I plan to do another one next week. I also announced last month that I'm doing a horror film festival on the channel, so if you're a filmmaker or know any filmmakers, the link will be down in the description box below. Tell them to submit. And also, join my Patreon if that's something that you'd be interested in. I got lots of perks. But that's all I gotta say about Marcel the Shell with Shoes On. If you really enjoyed what I had to say about the films, give it a thumbs up and share it amongst your friends. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel to be updated on more film-related content.